in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio, the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. We talk a lot about marketing strategy, communication, mindset. Well, a big part of building the business you need is your personal brand, your unique selling proposition, or your uniquely special personality that communicates at a glance who you are, who you help, and what you do for people. So today's guest is really going to help us dial that in. Her name is Dana Pharant, and she believes becoming a badass in life and business requires you to stand in your power and be super comfy with being unique. Dana knows all about standing out and being unique. Her personal brand of the Inner Dominatrix pushes people out of their comfort zone, challenges their preconceived notions, and has them stepping into a fierce determination to rock their bold, sexy, fun-filled lives. That is a powerful statement. Dana Pharant, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you so much, Ralph. I'm delighted to be here. Even if I roll over you, I'm talking.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's okay. We can clean all of that up, but not a problem. You talk about challenging people's preconceived notions. The first thing I've got to ask you is your personal brand of releasing the Inner Dominatrix. What does that mean? How do you define that?
Absolutely. And, it's so good for me to be, have a bit of space to explain that, because so many people, they hear the word dominatrix and immediately associate that with sex, with kink. And the reality is that while I did spend a number of years in that world, for me in particular, kink was very much about healing. And the energy of the dominatrix is much more of an archetype and it's an invitation for people to step into, which is why I call it the Inner Dominatrix. And this archetype of the dominatrix is this person who is authentically confident. So it's this quiet confidence, an unmistakable presence. She's willing to be seen and go big in the world. And this works for men or women, but I will talk in the female. So she's really willing to just put herself out there, be judged, not just like be okay with being judged, but actually welcome it, bring it in. And in this idea of really, embodying the power of standing in her expertise. So, and then the other thing that I like to educate people on is that dominatrix is actually a high level service position. So, Hollywood portrays it one way, and Hollywood's always so accurate for the description, right?
Right, yeah.
So, they don't get it right in this case, but it's actually very much a high-level service position. It's all about the other person. It's all about creating a space and an environment for them to transform and really get that they are much stronger than they ever thought that they were.
Well, that's a powerful and positive paradigm for people to adapt, because, I work with so many that when you get right down to it, what's holding them back is a lack of self-confidence. They doubt themselves. And as you know, 90% of success is in your head. And so being able to tap into that power, that personal power, and then creating a bold personal brand to back that up, that is authentic. That's the key. And we can create a brand and pretend to be something that we're not, but we know it's fake. And eventually the market finds out that it's fake also. And so that has the opposite effect of what we're trying to do. And the more we try to fake it until we make it, the less authentic we feel and the less confident we are. And that's the exact opposite of what you're talking about. I want to dig into your current work as a speaker and author, a coach. But first, give us a little bit of background, because you have an extensive business background and you've got a powerful story there. So tell us a little bit about your path, your journey that got you to this point.
Yeah, so I'll hit the highlights because, this we could take the entire show on, but
yeah, it'd be like 60 minutes. We could, just a whole PM magazine.
Yeah. So the transition of going into this Inner Dominatrix brand. So, here I just set it up for everyone. I have this large massage therapy supply outlet selling spa supplies, and I have massage therapy clinics going on. And so that's on this piece. And then in my personal life is where I've got the Dominatrix piece going on. And then, the business where, we're doing like a 7-figure business. We've got staff, we've got people overseas, we've got all this stuff happening. And I've built that primarily on word of mouth. So huge business on word of mouth, which is quite an accomplishment. And then we hit some roadblocks and we're facing a bankruptcy. And at that point, I really had to take a hard look at, what was missing in the business. Why did we hit that? And, it's a longer story that goes with this, but the short version of it is basically in going through that, bankruptcy and restructuring, I had to dive in and take a look at what was missing. And I realized that for me, a big chunk of it was that I had all of this, personal power in my personal life. I was like rocking it. I was willing to stand and hold that space and be, strong and own it. And then in my business, I was doing silly things like, hiring people who needed jobs because I felt sorry for them. And then they'd come in and I'd wonder why they were screwing up so much. It was like, that probably doesn't work so well. So for me, I started pulling on the energy of who I had to become as a dominatrix and pull her into my business. And I noticed, like, without a doubt, like, it was unequivocal, light switch on or off. If I brought that energy in, sales would go up. If I let that energy slide, because I'm not always perfect, if I let that energy slide, sales would go down. So it was a great experiment over, a few years of, like, every single time I ramped up that energy, sales would go up. Every time I let that energy drop, sales would go down. And so that was the turning point for me of realizing, you know what, I think people in business in particular, I love working with women in business because women in particular really need to get standing in this energy of feeling in their power without trying to be like men, without trying to be the masculine, but to actually stand up and quietly, like, just hold that presence, more like a mama bear, it's just like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm doing this. And it's okay. Like, no, we're not moving. Right. So that was kind of the short story of how this piece came about for me.
Yeah. You do not want to mess with the mama bear.
Right.
When she's in her business or when she's in her home. And it's interesting because, I would think in a majority of people that I talk to, their ego is extended through the business. So the business, for better or for worse, is a reflection of who they are. And it actually is a kind of a public catharsis, that customers suffer, the employees suffer because all of their personal baggage is manifesting through the business. But then I talk to some people, like yourself, and it's very different. They have one energy at home and a different energy in their business. And so I just find that fascinating of how, if we don't have that in balance, for better or for worse, our business is not going to perform the way we want it to perform. So it's real critical, I think, to get that in alignment. And that's what's so neat and so powerful about your brand. And it is a very powerful brand. But tell us a little bit more. Who do you work with? Who do you help?
So when I work one-on-one, I find that I work best with what I would call kick-ass women. So these are women who are, they are reaching for the stars. They're going big with their business. They are wanting to make that big impact, and they're often making the big steps. So they're starting to grow a team, and then there's challenges and things that come up with that they have to deal with that's different from the solo entrepreneur who just wants enough to, to pay her bills. And those challenges are different. So the other thing is that because of who I am, because of my brand, I kind of need women to already be, to be willing to like play bigger, because the energy of the dominatrix does invite that. It invites that piece of like, all right, you can't be afraid. We've got to like get in there and be willing to get in there, even though the stuff is going to be messy and it's going to be ugly. But it's like, you know, on some level, it's like, okay, I'm afraid, but I'm going to keep breathing and I'm going to say yes anyway.
So it works best. What you're saying is it works best if there's already kind of a level going on. If you're at level 0 and you're trying to get someone to level 10, it's too big of a leap. You need someone to be more like a 5 or a 6. Right. Yeah. And, you know, those people that it's like, you know, you've worked with coaches and you've been able to, you know, steamroll over them because, you know, they haven't been willing to call you on your BS. Right. Then it's like, okay, now it's time for somebody who's not going to put up with that. Yeah. You know, it's going to lovingly call you and say, no, I'm not buying it. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So, you know, what you're talking about and what I've experienced as well is that so many people, and I guess women, but men as well, they really suffer from this identity thing. They are not 100% convinced that they are as good as they are. They don't see anything special about themselves. What and how do we get them to make that mind shift? How do we get them to begin to tap into this energy that you're talking about and begin to get them from a 5 or 6 up to a 8, 9, or a 10?
Mm-hmm. So I would see this, and this is, you know, my process in that is taking people to unlock their current beliefs, to remove the judgments that they have about themselves, and starting to see where those are really lies that they've been carrying on with and don't need to keep going with. So starting at that level is just kind of, you know, remove some of those layers. And then from there, they can start to tap into, you know, their own knowing, their own intuition, if you want to call it that, gut, you know, your gut feeling, that inner peace, that wisdom that is never wrong. And when you start really connecting with yourself and following your knowing, now we can start moving into what I call the inner dominatrix energy. And that is the high level consciousness, if we want to, you know, feel like those words. I'm all things practical woo. So the high level consciousness where there's no right or wrong in anything that you do. And when you come from that perspective that, you know, there's no wrong choice, then you don't get stuck in deliberating about your choices. Then it becomes a matter of like, okay, would it be more fun to write a book or do a podcast? And it's not the whole intellectual thing of like, what do I need to do? What are the steps and all the things? It's just, you can just drop into going, well, what's more fun for me? Because either one has the potential and neither one is wrong. Now the choice making is completely different. And you can actually make choices and decisions in less than 5 seconds with this process, which frees up a lot of your time. And if you're no longer making yourself wrong for anything that you choose to do or be, that frees up a lot of energy that you can now divert into your business or into your hobbies or into your relationships. It's really quite phenomenal.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And being able to master the 3 things that we don't have an abundance of, which is time, money, and energy. All these are limited, and especially for rebelpreneurs, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, you don't have unlimited time, you don't have unlimited money, you don't have unlimited energy. So you've got to make the best possible use of that energy. And what you're saying is, if we get over these false beliefs and these judgments about ourselves, we are freeing up energy that can be put to more productive and creative use in our business and in the things that we're doing to promote ourselves.
Absolutely.
So how do we do that? If someone's listening to this, what would be kind of a 3-step or 4-step, I don't know, 12-step, self-help process, 12-step, however many steps it is, what sort of a self-help process could you suggest to get moving in the right direction. Maybe not get them to 8, 9, or 10, like working with you, but to go from a 4 to a 5 or a 5 to a 6.
Absolutely. So the one tool that I use like every single day, and it has been an absolute lifesaver for me. Like since I found this, it's dramatically changed my physical being. It cleared up fibromyalgia. It's freed me up from, being overwhelmed with other people and their stuff, because I am an empath. So it is to take your energy field. So we all have a physical body and an energy body, and I'm going to get really woo on you. So you take your energy field, and I want you to just notice. So we're not going to try to force anything. Just notice what it feels like to take that energy field and let it expand out. And so we're just going to like do it in big jumps. We're going to like, what does it feel like to be as big as the room that you're in? And then what does it feel like to be as big as the country that you're in? I know it's a big jump, but what does it feel like to be as big as the world? And we keep jumping out and go, what does it feel like to be as big as the solar system?
Man, this is like, this is like X-Men or something.
This is kind of an X-Men. Yeah, we're going to keep going out. So, if anybody's listening, you may want to re-listen to the recording to slow it down a little bit. But, energy happens super, super fast. So just let it go that fast. Okay. So what does it feel like to be as big as the galaxy? What does it feel like to be as big as the universe? And then we like go really freaky wide out and say, what does it feel like to be all the way as big as infinite space? And you just notice, like when we go through that, like how much better does your body feel? Do you have more space or less space? Right? And when you notice that there's more space, it's because you actually do. Your awareness, your knowing, like the creativity part of your brain actually is able to go out and stretch way, way out. And then you have perspective on everything that's going on in your life. You also become spacious like the wind. So I liken it to Post-it notes. So Post-it notes is everybody else's junk, all of their thoughts, emotions, and all the judgments that you have about yourself and whatnot. So when we contract it, which is what most people do, is like pull right in really, really tight, and we like put up these walls and shields and barriers and bubbles and all this stuff, and then you make yourself solid like a wall. So you can put, thousands of Post-it notes on a wall, but you can't put a single one on the wind. So I really invite people to just like expand out to be like the wind, so nothing sticks to you. Right? And then the next step with this is that put something in place that reminds you to do this every half hour until you lock it into your body to be doing this on a regular basis. Because you want to get to the place where this is where you function from all the time. And it takes time. It took me, and I've done a lot of this woo stuff, it took me 9 months to really lock this in. So use your phone, because we always have our phone with us. Put an alarm on there that goes off every half hour during waking hours. And right, with a nice gentle ringtone. And then that will just remind you, like, oh yeah, expand back out. It's a nanosecond to get back out there. One deep breath, and you can be back expanded out. But that process done on a regular basis will dynamically shift anybody's reality. I promise. It has like changed everybody that I've worked with, even people that haven't worked with me. I've given them this tool, and it has shifted everything in their world.
Very powerful. That's a very interesting concept. And some will call it energy, some will call it a thought experiment. But I think the end result, regardless of what you call it or what you believe, I think the end result is that emotionally, it gives you space. It gives you the room you need to breathe.
Absolutely.
To be creative, to literally go beyond your pre-existing boundaries and begin to see yourself as bigger. I mean, yeah, it's a simple exercise, but very powerful.
Thank you. So the other thing that I would really recommend to people, so once you've played with that one for a little bit and get the feel of it going, is to start to, drop into asking questions, but from a place of not answering them. So the one that I love giving to people, if you haven't done any of this work, or you're really like kind of at the beginning, is to just simply ask the question, how can my life be fun today? and you take a deep breath, and you just like, you're not trying to answer it. That's a really important part. You are not looking for the answer. You're not going to write any of this stuff down. You just like, imagine you're asking your friend and saying, how can my life be fun today?
So I don't have to journal. I don't have to journal my answers.
No journaling. No, please don't. I mean, you can if you really want to, but I love simple tools. And it's a matter of you getting into the feel of it, of just like, I wonder how my life can be fun today. That's another way to do it. I wonder how my life can be fun today. And then go about your day.
Wow. And so it's, what you're doing is creating an open space for things to happen. Instead of restricting yourself to, okay, here's my appointments for today. Here's the things I have to do today. And you are already locked in to a regimen, to a straitjacket, even before the day has begun. And you're not going to tap into your greatest potential if you feel constricted and bound all the time.
Yeah, and if we're having fun, if we set out the intention to have fun at the beginning of the day, then you're gonna start, like, subconsciously you start to look, and it takes a few days of running this, but you subconsciously start to look for little ways to make it fun. You'll find the humor in different things, and you start to just nudge that process along. So that's the self-help version of it. Is you're looking to nudge things a little bit more in the direction of seeing your life as a fun adventure, but you're going to have to nudge it there.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Very powerful.
Thank you.
Now, if we all knew how to do this, we would have already done it. So this is the point in the program where I ask the expert, if someone wants to work with you, one-on-one or in a group setting or whatever your modality is for working with people, how is that going to benefit them over trying to figure this out and doing it on their own?
And that's always an interesting piece, because it's like, in the personal development world, it's kind of super sexy to think of like all of the ways that I can do it myself and I can save money. And the reality is that it is nearly impossible in certain topics for you to be your own therapist or coach and the patient at the same time, because there are areas that are really big. And so what I suggest to people is that, all the things that have an energetic emotional charge, if we call it that, of 5 out of 10 or less, go ahead and you address those, because you don't need to pay somebody to address the stuff that has low charge. 5, 6, you try it out on your own. And if you get somewhere, great. The stuff that has the bigger charge, and this is, often the deeper traumas, or you've got, things rooted in there that you've not been willing to look at. Those are the things where you want to reach out to have somebody work with you so that they can say, this is what I see, or let's dive in here a little bit more. The other big thing for me is that, I've done so much work on myself and gotten to this great space that my gift is that I can hold this space of no judgment for people.
And that's like really critical. That's really critical to getting people to open up. If they feel like that you're not going to judge them for opening up, they tend to be more free, right?
Yeah. And so in this space of no judgment, then it's like, okay, we can untangle and unravel all those stories and just delve in there. And I'm not relocking the person up in the trauma. We just are able to move it in a much more dynamic way. So that's where I would see the benefit of working with, myself or another professional like myself, is that it's faster and it's easier, and you can just kind of relax into that container.
Excellent. Now, you have designed several programs for helping people, and they're very tightly focused. What are you working on right now, or what have you recently released that has got you really excited that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, so I just released the print version of my book, and so this book is a series, and the series title is called The Inner Dominatrix Guide, and this one is Become a Badass in Business. So I'm very excited about this. People are loving the stories in there. It's weaving the stories from the Dominatrix dungeon world and showing how they relate to the business. And then I am currently working on the audio for this. So I'm recording the audio like mad.
Wow. Very good. Very good. So, you have lots of programs, lots of, materials available on your website. It's a great looking site, by the way. How can our listeners get in touch with you and connect with some of these ideas you've been sharing?
Yeah, I would really invite people to go to innerdominatrix.com. And you can actually download the digital version of the book for free. That will give you a lot of the tools. And then there's podcast episodes that you can listen to for more tools. And of course, if you feel in alignment, absolutely message me if you want to go deeper.
Excellent. Well, this has really been motivational and inspirational, and eye-opening on many different levels. So you personify what it means to have a powerful personal brand. So if our listeners are interested in these ideas, or if they just want to see what a powerful personal and business brand looks like, I encourage them to go check you out. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom you'd like to share with us before we call it a day?
I love this little quote that I've come up with, and it's when you are willing to lose everything, you can have anything.
Yeah. Well, that's some good advice, powerful words of wisdom from Dana Pharant. She is a best-selling author, a speaker, an expert in becoming a badass in life and business with a powerful personal brand of the Inner Dominatrix. Find out more at innerdominatrix.com. Dana, it's been a real pleasure to get to know you. Thanks so much for being on Rebelpreneur Radio today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ralph.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.